What's going on with y'all boys, man? Ladies, gentlemen. It's your boy Trey, and I'm here with my boy Keys. Today, it's the word. I'ma just have to tell you something. Let me come here. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you one thing that my mama told me. And she told me to knock y'all ass out. Non-stop. I've been on the ground until the ball drop. Non-stop. Non-stop. I've been on the ground from January till the ball drop. And I'ma keep on hustling till the ball drop. Today we're gonna be reacting to the story of LL Cool J and his career and album chart history. If y'all don't know LL Cool J, he the cool nigga with a bald head. And I ain't talking about Common. But without further ado, we're gonna get into this video.
Come on, man. LL Cool J, greatest of all time.
In the span of nearly 40 years in the music industry, LL Cool J has 14 overall albums that have charted on the Billboard 200 charts since his debut in 1984. His incredible longevity on the charts is one of the most impressive and iconic runs of all time. For most of his career, LL Cool J maintained an important spot in hip-hop by lasting through several generations of hip-hop, whether it's the 80s with Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, or the 90s with Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, as well as the 2000s with Jay-Z and Eminem.
I'm generation one of hip-hop, right? So, I was the first generation to grow up on hip-hop. I'm generation 1.5 as an artist.
Whoa.
The first thing I heard...
Whoa! We forgot Brody Snack. I mean, his subtitles. Yeah, bro. My bad. First ass is a little hard of hearing, y'all, but we gotta put the subtitles on.
It was a Cold Crush tapes, and then, all of the tapes, Force MCs, all of that stuff was floating around, flashing them, all that.
He was the first rap artist with a hit album and song in 3 decades. Nowadays, hip-hop artists like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Future can easily release an album and debut at #1 with high streaming and not have to worry about promotion. But there was a time where hip-hop wasn't seen as the main genre like it is today. Today, hip-hop is the #1 genre in music, and most of its success stems from the younger generation, who often rebel.
You have to remember, when I first started, there was no industry. They didn't even play rap music in the daytime. Crazy. On the radio. Whoa. All right? You got 1 hour on the weekend.
That's crazy, bro.
How far that shit came.
How far it came. He said it was no industry. Now you think about it was no industry, now niggas they come and fuck niggas over. That was the start of scamming of the rap industry. That's crazy though. Say you might get an hour on a weekend.
Maybe. So I've seen it go from 1 hour on the weekend to something since you've been born is just like the normal thing of just all day long, right?
Right.
This culture still being around, because when we look at the Beatles, they don't have to have a record on the charts to be viable. When you look at the Stones, they don't need a record on the charts to be viable. If we put ourselves in a position where our artists are only viable if they have a record on the charts, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Hip-hop culture is a very young genre, first of all. So it's only going on 50 years old, right? I mean, 50 is old until somebody dies at 50. Then you say, damn, that's young, right? So people are just used to people coming and going and coming and going. And then we started, there's so many metaphors in our poetry, and we're so close to sports culture that we started comparing ourselves to athletes, and it's a completely different discipline. This is art.
It's said by many critics that hip-hop in the 1980s was the new, quote, punk, which at the time was often frowned upon during the Gen X generation.
The kids are listening, tuned in to certain things, hearing these lyrics, responding to them, thinking of them as really anthems for their generation and their sort of rebellion, and tapping into all the hatred and resentments these kids have And that's the way the music industry today seems to be feeding off of it, making money off of those instincts, rather than, if you think back to the 60s, the instincts about peace, love, and live together.
During the 1980s of the MTV era, hip-hop saw a rise in album sales, and with that,
one thing about hip hop in that era is, I think it's just depending on like the economy and shit that people in. Like, you feel me? Like, it was a time where it was, like he said, it was about peace, love, and sticking together. But that was when it was hard for, you know what I'm saying, black people, or, you know what I'm saying, to stick together and do this, and, you know, or even do anything for real. Like you said, like he said, nigga, you only got 1 hour on the weekend. What the fuck were we listening to?
That's true.
But now, in this generation, you feel me? What they got? FN switches and buttons and shit. They want to switch cheese and shit.
No shit.
No.
But that's how that shit go though.
That is how it goes.
Genocide, that's all that shit.
Bro. So I really just think like this hip hop era is just based off of the economy we in and how people fluctuate in it. So, you know, I wouldn't say that the other people's music back in the day was more meaningful, because a lot of people can make meaningful music today.
But that's not what's glorified. That's it.
Yeah.
Once that hip hop shit start touching the streets and the streets start loving it, and the streets start taking on to it,
bro.
And it start becoming something more than just a song, bro. Now that shit ain't do shit but evolve and turn it to what it is today.
To a bunch of gorilla booty music. Nah, let me stop. Let me stop.
For real, that animal music.
That animal music, bro.
Cool J would be the first major solo rap star to be played on MTV.
Rap music is on MTV.
That's cold.
A lot. That's important. And I respect the show.
That's a flex.
That's basically it. You know what I mean? It's an incredible breakthrough. You know, a lot of the audience out there is getting to see rap videos. They would have never saw a rap video unless it really crossed over and got onto mainstream MTV. So this is a good outlet for the people out there to see rap.
Today on LL Cool J Archive, we will count down every album of LL Cool J. Starting at last place is LL Cool J's Authentic. It was released in 2013 during the height of his television and TV hosting career. LL Cool J looked
2013. I didn't even know that nigga had released some shit back then.
Well, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know none of LL Cool J shit except for that. I'm gonna knock you out. That's all I know. I don't know nothing else about that nigga.
Mama said knock you out.
Bro.
I knew a couple of songs, but I forgot them, John. I ain't gonna lie, because I ain't listened to.
Now, if you play some shit in this LL Cool J, but I like heard it before, I just didn't know it was LL.
Bro. But I did not know he released something in 2013. No disrespect to him, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or the fans, the LL Cool J fans, man. We know he a GOAT, man. He a pioneer, man. But I ain't know he was still releasing stuff in 2013.
to return with a new album for the first time since 2008. The album was released on April 30th, 2013. However, it became LL's first album to miss the top 10 of the Billboard 200. The album remained on the charts for just 4 weeks. LL Cool J often mentions that the album was, quote, experimental album. The next album is Exit 13. Exit 13 was set to be LL's final album with Def Jam Records. It entered the album charts at number 9 and remained the album charts for 5 weeks. While the album reached the top 10, promotion stalled on Exit 13 due to Def Jam and LL Cool J's 25-year partnership coming to an end. The GOAT album is only 5 years old
because he was next to the Carter 3. When Carter 3 come out, didn't that come out Bro, it don't really matter because
Wayne could have had
While
that
the
whole
album reached
ass
the
thing.
top 10, promotion
Yeah,
stalled
that
on
doesn't
Exit
matter.
13 due to Def
I
Jam
mean, we
and
talking
LL
about back
Cool
then,
J's
this before
25-year
a lot of
partnership
other rap.
coming to an end. The GOAT album is often considered the album that coined the phrase, the greatest of all time. While in 2000, LL Cool J achieved his first #1 album on September 30th, 2000. The album remained on the Billboard charts for 12 weeks. This
Wait,
album will give
You said what?
I'm just thinking like 2013 was like freshman year.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, you ain't have to put that out there though.
Nigga, he can edit it out.
I really can't because it is in a video.
another platinum album by 2001. Todd Smith was LL's middle album during the 2000 run. He received another 5 Billboard hit with Jennifer Lopez for Control Myself. The album debuted at number 6 and remained on the charts for 13 weeks. Another album that was a success for LL Cool J during the 2000s was The Definition. The album reached number 4 on the Billboard 200 and remained on the charts for 19 weeks. Definition proved that LL could still lyrically and musically bang with the current generation of the 2000s. The first single, Headsprung, showcased a reinvented LL Cool J who once again continued to maintain his longevity and success 3 decades into his career. Moreover, we move into LL Cool J's 80s run, and perhaps the weakest 80s album of the 3 was Walking with the Panther. And while Panther was a major hit for LL, it didn't live up to his critical status with the hip-hop fans in 1989 when he was at a rally in Brooklyn, New York, when his high-living champagne and gold-chain lifestyle proved out of sync with the politically charged times. Panther peaked at number 6 on the Billboard and remained on the charts for 21 weeks. Back down to the later years of 1997, Phenomenon was released in the fall and peaked at number 7 with a total of 23 weeks on the Billboard 200. He achieves another platinum album. Like Panther, 14 Shots to the Dome was released to commercial and critical disappoint. 14 Shots was coming off the strong and successful Mama Said Knock You Out album, and people expected more of that. 14 Shots to the Dome peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and remained on the charts for 24 weeks. It became his first album not to achieve platinum status. However, as of today, the album sales for 14 Shots to the Dome could very well be given a platinum status. All World was another album of LL Cool J's, but it was a compilation album and it went platinum at that. The album had all of LL's biggest hits from 1984 to 1996. The album peaked at number 29 and remained on the album charts for 28 weeks. The 10 album is one of LL's defining commercial chart moments, as LL was in his 3rd decade as the only solo rapper who still achieved major success. 10 opened at number 2 on the Billboard 200 with 154,000 copies sold and became his 6th top 5 album and his 5th number 1 R&B.
I ain't gonna lie, that boy was putting up numbers.
Sure.
He was putting up albums like it was NBA rings for
/hip-hop album. Another great accomplishment to the album was the release of All I Have with Jennifer Lopez. 10 returned to the top Billboard 200 on February 22, 2003 at number 9 with The Greatest Gainer. Radio was considered by many at its time a sleeper hit album, and its peak position at number 46 doesn't compare to its 38 weeks on the Billboard 200. It remained on the Billboard charts from 1985 to 1986. The album elevated LL into a rap superstar, and it wasn't until the next album on our list where LL would really shine. Bigger and Duffer was released in 1987 and would climb its way to the top 5 at number 3. The album also remained at number 1 for 11 weeks on the R&B/hip-hop charts and remained on the album charts 53 weeks.
Go ahead, Daddy.
Mr. Smith is by far LL's overall most successful era, with its singles placing high on the charts back in 1995 to 96 and receiving the Billboard Male Artist of the Year honoree. And it's not a shock that this album remained on the charts for over 62 weeks. It is by far LL's most successful album, next to Mama Said Knock You Out.
Get upstairs and got that garbage.
Say that's LL.
This album, Mama Said Knock You Out, is culturally significant to his discography. The album had pop, R&B, hip-hop, and was a crossover hit. LL's Mama reached number 16 on the Billboard 200, but that didn't stop it from lasting on the album charts from 1990 to 1992. It remained on the charts for 76 weeks.
What is LL style?
Dang.
I don't have a style. I'm just me. You know, sometimes I feel like it, sometimes I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't really have a style. No style.
Enjoy the video, ugly. Nah, shout out to LL Cool J, man. He was doing this thing. I ain't know he was putting out numbers and albums like that though, and keeping them on the top 200. Our boy hit a run, but you know the biggest threat right there. Biggest threat, Mike Jack.
Well, so
But thank y'all for watching this video, man. Please tune in to the next video. Excuse me, but we out.